welcome to Scrappin with Sheri and project recipe number 20. Now for today's project recipe, we're going to be using a lot of odds and ends. These two papers came from the Back to School collection. It's got the pool on the back, but the green on the front. I'm going to be using this from Backyard Barbecue, and this one's actually cut, and it's the right size I need for what we're going to do. And then this is a sheet from one of the Simple Page kits from 2024, you know, where we just cut on the lines and then we can lay that out. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut the two swells that I need here for the bottom. And I'm going to be using this and this for the swells. So let me slide these two pieces out of the way. Now it says that you're going to cut pieces A and C from your designer papers. Then you're going to use the decorative trimmer to cut it in half using a wave pattern. Now, when I think of the wave pattern, I'm not sure which one I think of necessarily. I have seen where people have called this the swell and this the wave. But when I look on theirs, there's like just a couple of swelled parts here. So I think you could use either one. But let's see what we're cutting first off, because we have to cut it first with this trimmer. Now, this piece C is a 4.5 by 12, and that's my 4.5. So this is what I'm going to be using for piece C right here. And then this one is going to be a 5 by 12. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this using this blue area right here. And again, we're going to put these two on the decorative trimmer and cut them in half. Now, when I'm trying to measure things out on the decorative trimmer, I have a hard time measuring it with this one, specifically because it's not a zero centering, and I've gotten so used to that. But you do have this nice little arm you can pull out. And I think I purposefully will use the swell. I don't want the great big jiggy jags. I want the gentle rolling heels here. And to cut a 4.5 in half, I'm going to need 2 1/4. And the 2 1/4 is going to be right here. And I know that's hard for you to see, but it's like 2 ticks past this wavy one is going to put me at 2 1/4. And I'm cutting with this swell blade. And I have lined up my paper along the bottom edge, and that's going to be important for when I cut this one as well. So let me make sure I've got everything lined up. And this is thin paper, so I'm going to scoot the blade up, then push it in, pull down, and then go back and cut that. And let's see if they're anywhere close to even. Oh, sort of, not too bad. And then I need to do the same thing on this, which will be at about 2 1/2 because this is a 5-inch piece. So I'm going to put it at about the same spot, a little bit further over, pop it up, and go back down. Now, you know, my swells are going to be different on each side for sure, but they should match up with each other to make this idea work. And that's all I need the decorative trimmer for. Now, let's pull our backgrounds so I can see how we're going to start laying things out, and then I know what I need to cut next. So for the two backgrounds, I've got this. These have the white stripe on them to be a field or a court or something. Maybe tennis, maybe, I think it's probably tennis. I'm not using that because I don't really need the tennis. So I'm going to cover up that white line with these borders that I'm doing. And because we cut first and then cut it in half, that swell just continues on, and I like that look. I think that's pretty. Let's line them up with the right ones. How about it? And I did want that blue as a divider. That's why I did the blue as the bigger one to make the dividing line. And then we need straight borders here with some smaller borders on all of those. So let's see how big our straight borders are. Those are 2 1/2 by 12. And I'm going to be using this plaid again. I'm going to kind of keep it monochromatic, but I need a 2 1/2 for each side. So 2 2 1/2. And then we need our smaller borders. They show them as 3/4 of an inch each. But I think for my smaller borders, I would like to use this, I think. And I only have, let me measure that and see how big that is, because we got to divide it into 4. It's a 2 inch, so I can only cut 1/4 inch borders to get 4 of them out of this. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not sure if I'm going to love it on here or not, but my pictures were taken at a golf course, and there's lots of greens and blues with the sky. So I really wanted to keep it really the greens and blues. Now let's go ahead and tape down and see what we've got to work with now. And you know me, I'm not cutting any of these extra mats yet. So we've got all the main pieces cut. Let's tape them down and kind of gauge the look of where we're going with it. And if you wanted to save some of this blue paper, you could always cut off some of it and use it for the border here, which I think would be pretty, but I just wanted to add one more pattern in. So I am going to go with that darker green. There are lots of ways you could save paper on this if you're trying to conserve and use just enough so you have leftovers for matting or for borders or whatever you decide to add to this page. I have discovered the more I scrapbook lately, the more I'm not opposed to using as much paper as it takes, because I've got so very much paper. Now, there are a few colors I'm really stingy with, and I would gut those papers before I'll use all of them as a background. But for the most part, I don't mind using up whole sheets of paper nowadays. I know some of you are very much with me because we've talked about it. How we have so much paper that even if we scrapbooked every single day from now till we died and never bought another new thing, haha, there would still be lots of paper in our collections. We just seem to really like the new ones every time they come out. And this, I love it because it gives me that line to line this up on to make it straight across somewhat. And then, you know me, to line up those little borders, I'm just going to butt those pages up side by side. And put this end down. And then do the best I can do. And then I usually flip them and check this side to make sure it's reasonably close. All right, now let's do the 2 top. And then we'll be ready to put pictures on this page. Now, I told you in one of the videos recently, we haven't been traveling very much. So I just don't have all the travel videos that I usually have. We're hoping to remedy that some later in the year. But fortunately, my oldest son and his wife took a little trip down to South Florida to do some golfing. My son loves to golf. So they went down and he golfed, and they went to Universal Studios. So I'm getting to do some pictures I never get to do. And I'm excited about that. You'll get to see some new ideas, some new colors, some new places. So I think that'll be fun. I always love it when they send me pictures so I can do new things. And that's what I told them. If y'all want to be in the family book, you got to send me pictures. So they did. All right. Now that's really pretty. Now I'm going to go back to the sketch for a minute, the recipe, and look at how they've done pictures. And I've got several things to work with. So they did 3 verticals over here. And I did develop mine a little bit smaller, like they did, to give me some space in between. And mine are actually probably a little too small in some respects, but I think I can make that work. And then over here, they had done picture. There's a skinnier one. I've got another one here. And they did journaling here. I think I'm going to move those around a little bit. And my son had also picked up the scorecard from the golf course. He got me a free one, an extra one, without any writing on it, probably because he didn't want me to see his score. But he also got me that, so I'm excited to have something a little bit different too. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that their photos are down underneath that swell edge. So let me see if I can move mine underneath that swell a little bit. This one has a photo on the back just because when I developed it, I cut off too much of it. And so I just stuck a photo that I had messed up on the back of it to map my white again. I know that makes no sense, but there is a method to my madness. And I was almost thinking with this one, I might leave it just a touch higher and then do some overlapping. And because the scorecard doesn't have any score in it, it's not one that I have to put on top of the page protector because there's really no good reason to have to open it. So that does eliminate one little step that I normally have to think about later. That shows the whole course laid out right there. So I think what I may do is slide these this way and then put this here. I like having those introductory pictures. I was just talking to my son before I started filming because they went to 2 different golf courses. And I said, I don't know which golf course is which. You're going to have to help me here. And so he confirmed that the pictures I had chosen were all from the same course. And he kept telling me, Mom, it was the most beautiful course. And when I looked, they had taken hundreds of pictures. And he said, well, I don't expect you to use them all. And I said, well, that's a good thing because I can't do 40 pages in this album of your golf adventures. I couldn't believe how many they took. Neither of them are necessarily big photo takers, but wow, they loved this place. And they took a lot of pictures even of the birds and the trees and things like that. So I'm going to get to do some tropical pages just using the wildlife and the scenery. But here we have the golf page. One golf page. There'll be another course that I'll do again too. All right. So we've got all the pictures on that I intend to use on this page probably. And when I look, they've added an embellishment down here, an embellishment up here, sort of, and then some journaling. Well, I don't feel like the journaling is going to take a lot of space, but I did pull the on the green embellishments. I had a pack of on the green embellishments forever, and I hosted a weekend crop last weekend, and somebody bought the last pack that I had, so I had to reorder them before I could do this. And I'm not going to use the girl golfer. This guy one, he might be good. Oh, particularly right there where I've got my son actually swinging the golf club. And I know I'm going to save a couple of these. This course they walked, so I won't use the golf cart here. I've got the big on the green, but it's almost too big for anything I want here. So I think I'm going to save that. I like this guy here. And I could add this tea time over here. And then just the golf there. And then very little journaling. I mean, we know that it's at the Palm Beach golf course. And I could write the dates over here. So, not a whole lot I have to add to this. I'm going to do a foam square here. This is an embellishment, so it's already popped up. I mean, it's already not sticky, so I don't have to worry about doing anti-stick. You know, I could put the word golf over here, which would make my embellishments go kind of more up and down. And I think I'll do that. Could it actually even go up onto this? Oh, so many options. I think I'll go up to the top. So I've got this and this. Then this kind of acts as an embellishment because it really draws your eye. And then I could put my tea time. I could actually do it in a couple of places. I could do it there. I could do it here or over here. And when I'm looking at the direction of my embellishments, a part of me really thinks right here would be a better option, but it kind of distracts from that, which I don't love. I don't want it there. So I think I'll go back over here to the corner where I'd originally thought. So in adding some journaling, I think I'll add some quick journaling here with the date and why they went. And these 2 pages will be completed. So that is project recipe number 20 in our book. We are getting to the point, we're not far from being halfway done in our project recipes for this year. So keep joining us. You may see new tricks. And until I see you next time, happy scrapping.